Elon Musk is at it again. This time he's saying that Twitter Blue will be released this Friday. If you're watching this video in the future, let me know how that panned out for Elon Musk, but in this video, I'm going to tell you why you should never release software on a Friday. Before we get into it though, be sure to bookmark this video and be ready to share it with your friends, coworkers, manager, whoever, the next time that they suggest that you should release anything on a Friday. The first reason that releasing stuff on a Friday is a terrible idea is it has a tendency to blow up your weekend. You see, Friday leads into the weekend, you have Saturday and Sunday, and so if you release something on Friday, you're not giving yourself a ton of time to validate that things are working as expected. When things break, then you have to respond to them, and you would be responding to them either on a Saturday or a Sunday if it broke over the weekend. What can make that even worse is not everyone is going to be available on the weekend. So if something that you wrote broke and you need help debugging it or fixing it, there's a chance that people aren't going to be available to help you out to fix the problem. Which then ties into the next point. If you're not a software engineer, you should be thinking of this as well, because if you release a product on a Friday and it doesn't work out, it's gonna make your users not trust the product. So something breaks, but not everyone's available to debug it. You now have longer downtime over the weekend. People are stressing out. Your customers are just wondering what the heck is going on. Did these people not even test anything? Did they not validate that it worked flawlessly? Which, spoiler alert, software never works flawlessly. There's always something that doesn't quite work right. And so you should really be asking yourself, are you okay with the product going down Friday night and not being restored until Monday afternoon? Because that is a possibility that could happen if you don't have proper coverage. And realistically, Friday is just one day of the week. You could release something Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday as well. And then you have people who are available the following day to help debug any issues that arise. So you have 4 other days to pick from. So why pick the worst day of the week? Why not pick one of the better days of the week? So that already covers one of the things you should be doing instead. So don't release on a Friday, release one of the other 4 days of the week. Another thing is you should release in smaller increments. Don't save up a bunch of stuff and then make one giant release out into the public. That'll usually blow up because there's a lot of stuff that hasn't had a chance to go through proper testing. Whereas if you're constantly merging in code, you're constantly deploying that code, it's being tested, even if it's in a passive way. On mobile, this might be that you're doing weekly releases. On web, it might be that you're doing daily or multiple daily releases. And the most important thing to remember is that the fewer changes that you have, the fewer things that can go wrong. If you saved up 3 months worth of things, that's 3 months worth of things that could go wrong. Whereas if you're doing daily releases, the worst that could happen is whatever went out that day broke something. So it's just a much easier way of knowing what went wrong when there's fewer things that could possibly go wrong. Another thing you can consider doing is decoupling your releases with your code deployments. And you can do that through using feature flags. There's vendors out there, you can roll your own as well. But the main idea is that you deploy code, but the code isn't actually released to customers. So customers can't interact with that code. It's behind a feature flag. Then when you are ready to release it, you can either release it to everyone, or you can release it to 0.1% of your users, see if anything breaks, increase the rollout a little bit more, see if anything breaks, and then over time you're kind of staggering out the rollout until you get to 100%. And if at any point in time you see any major issue that comes up, you don't have to scramble to push out a hotfix. You just turn the feature off, you figure out what went wrong, get a fix out, and then once the fix is out, you continue to roll out and see if it actually resolved the issue. Another thing to consider if you want to have stress-free releases is to intentionally break your software during the workday. Seriously, this is something that Netflix did. They called it like chaos testing, and they had this chaos monkey that would go around and pull services down between 9 and 5. They would see what broke, and then there were people actively working so they could respond to any issues that came up. They could figure out what are their blind spots, what are areas that will bring the service down either during work hours or after work hours. And they would put systems in place that would either make it possible to roll back a release automatically, be able to scale down a service automatically, be able to scale up services. So if the service went down in one region, being able to automatically send traffic to other regions with your cloud provider. But the important thing is just knowing what does happen when a service goes down. and then being able to program around that. Software releases are one of the most stressful parts about being a software engineer, and it's also one of those stresses that is just manufactured. There's a lot that you can do to mitigate that. Your customers aren't going to care if a feature is released on a Friday or a Monday. They aren't in any of the internal meetings. They have no idea when the feature is going to come out. So you can do yourself a favor, and anytime you're thinking about releasing anything, instead of doing it on a Friday, maybe do it on a Monday. And then you'll have the next 4 days to go through and debug any issues. Everyone's available to help out. And so really you don't have to stress out about Friday releases if you never release software on a Friday. The same is also true during holidays. You probably don't want to release anything over Thanksgiving. You also probably don't want to release anything over Christmas. And if there's other points in time where most of the company is on vacation, you probably don't want to release it then either. Anyway, according to YouTube, they think you're going to like this video next, so go check that out. And that's it. That's the video.